All right. Good afternoon. Let's just make sure we're all set up here. Thank you guys for joining. We have a couple of different audiences from LinkedIn, from Zoom. Gonna get started in just a moment. Hopefully you guys can see the slides okay. I promise I just have like 5 slides only because just to give you guys some visuals. All right. Give people just a few seconds to join. All right, let's go ahead and get started. So, just a quick intro about myself. So I'll mention what I do. I'll mention what I do in just a moment. So this session, in case you're joining, so I'm not sure if you're joining from whichever social media channel, but really something I've been thinking a lot about, and I see a lot of people go through, which is some kind of career stagnation, and that can be part of it could be due to job search. Part of it could just be you're not job searching, but you may be in your current job role and just looking for some type of change. So whichever category you kind of fall into, you're in the right place. As I mentioned before, I only have like 5 slides, and really just because I want to give a visual, right? And this session is also recorded, so in case you want to share it with anybody who might find it useful, please feel free to do so in case somebody wasn't able to attend. But let's go ahead and get into it. And as we're kind of getting into this, if you guys can just, those who are listening, whether on Zoom or LinkedIn, I'm paying attention to both platforms. So do me a favor and drop in the chat in the chat, whatever platform you're at, what stages are you in when it comes to career stagnation? Is it that you're a job search or career change seeker or fresh graduate? So drop me your chat comments. Just a quick introduction about why am I doing this and who I am in case you're not familiar. So I've spent over the last 15 plus years of my career in talent development roles in different organizations and institutions around the world. I've spent many years in the Middle East, really got to travel the region, got to travel to Asia and understand how careers and work is like around different parts of Middle East and Asia. I've done this in South America as well, all over the US. So I've kind of have a really broad perspective on career satisfaction, career growth from different perspectives and different cultures. But ultimately, what I've kind of learned is that at the end of the day, we all want the same things. We want to get paid well. We want to do something we enjoy. We want to have fulfilling careers, hopefully, right? And just be happy and be healthy. Like that's the ultimate aim. And so when if you are feeling like you're feeling a little bit stuck, it's pretty normal. It's actually good if you feel stuck. If you feel, if you're just kind of content, it's also good, I guess, to each his own. But if you feel stuck and you feel a little bit uncomfortable because you're stuck, it's a good sign because that's a sign for you to do something differently. So, and you're not alone in this. No matter who I talk to in this world and what backgrounds and experience and so on that they come from, at some point or another, everybody feels stuck in their careers. Everybody struggles with job search. There's, especially in these days, like there's just so much going on in the world that we are just continuously either looking for a job, looking to progress. We're worried about our jobs. Like there's just the world has changed, and we'll talk about that in a minute. And a couple of final things for me. I have a rare career path. I don't know if it's rare. I don't know what's the word I want to use, but just a kind of, I guess, unique because I've had at least 17 different jobs before I was 25. So I know a thing or two about job search and interviews and being turned down and so on. Personally, I have got most of my jobs through most of opportunities in general, whether it's job or business or consultancy work and so on, through some kind of networking and so on. And that is because a lot of the things that I was doing just weren't working. So today, what I'm going to share for the job seekers in the room is like kind of alternative strategies you can try and hopefully offer a different perspective of how do you get out of that career stagnation or that job search if you're feeling stuck and so on. So anyway, that's a little bit about me. I also write and talk about these topics. So if you've been following me on LinkedIn for a while, I don't shut up. I'm sorry if I'm spamming your LinkedIn, but I love creating content and I want to just share everything that I know with my audience. So I try to be as active as possible on these platforms. All right, so let's just dive in. And for those who just recently joined, I see a few people that just joined. As Gwanta just dropped, she's looking for a career change. How about the rest of you guys? Is it like, what is causing the stagnation? Is it like in your career change or job search? So are you currently working and you're looking to change, or are you kind of not working and looking for a job? So let me know, because my gut feeling is there's going to be two audiences in this conversation. So I want to make sure I speak to both sides here. All right. So enough about me. Quick little thing, just like, just some things that are happening. It's a whole new world. And what I mean by that is that, the average time to find a job has increased. So before it would take, like some people, some research that has come out would say, 30% of people, it would take 9 months to find a job. Another 30% of the job seekers will take, 3 to 5 months, and so on. So some people more than a year. So generally speaking, the time to find a job has increased, but it also depends on your situation, on where you are. Are you a fresh graduate looking for a job? Are you a mid-level professional? Are you a career change seeker? Or are you senior leadership looking for a job? So all of these things play a role when it comes to timelines. All right. And we're going to talk more about that in the next slide, which is like, I really want to dive into actions. That's what I want you to walk away with today. It's just some actions and hopefully information to move forward with this. So that's one. The other side is that there's been, this old way of applying to jobs is really outdated. And what I mean by that is just submitting an application, right? A couple of things here. If you're only submitting applications online, there's pretty much a 5% chance of you getting that job, right? So 5% chance of somebody actually looking at your resume because you've submitted in the applicant tracking systems. And this is coming from somebody who does recruitment as well. So I lead a recruitment team. That is literally a big part of what I do. So trust me when I tell you, and that just simply applying online is not always the best strategy. There are ways to improve your chances, improving that 5%. But at the end of the day, if you're just doing that, that's your stagnation right there. So if you feel stuck and all you're doing is just applying online and you're submitting an application and that's it, be mindful that, just write that down somewhere in your notes right now. Stop applying online and just that. And what you're going to do after, we're going to talk about in a minute. So that's one. Another quick thing on applying online. When you submit an application, LinkedIn has this, I love LinkedIn, by the way, no shame on LinkedIn, but LinkedIn has this function for companies where you can say easy apply, and you're like, oh my God, I'm just going to easy apply, just, like bam, bam, 2 steps, good, because it's so exhausting to go through the application process and so on. So if you're just doing the easy apply button, be mindful that unless the person actually goes in and looks at that application, it's not even going to connect to the ATS system in the company. So what I recommend you to do is, if you found a position and it's easy apply, make sure you easy apply, but then go on the website and actually submit your application there. I know it's an extra step, but easy apply rarely works. It's just an additional thing, and some companies do it better than others. Many companies simply don't even access that pool of candidates that are there. So again, depends on various factors, but generally speaking, easy apply button is like a trick. Just be mindful of just doing that. The other thing is something else I see with candidates quite a bit, and just people I talk to in the workforce, is everybody wants big names. And guess what? If you want a big name, so does everybody else. Everybody's going after the big companies. And if that's your dream, if you're like, listen, I want to work for the Googles of this world, beautiful, go for it. That's fine. But if you're like, listen, I just want to have a career that I enjoy, I make good money, I don't really care to have a big name on my resume and so on, then open up this other side, which is the small, medium-sized businesses, which is 85% of U.S. economy, of all the kind of jobs that are out there are with SMEs, like small, medium-sized businesses. So be mindful that the bigger companies, they're great to have on your resume, and they're great if, it opens up a lot of doors and you learn a lot, et cetera, et cetera. But it does not mean you cannot have a great, successful career in a small company, right? So just be mindful of that. That might open up some areas, because what we see in terms of advertising and marketing, what's out there in the news and so on, is the big names, is the Microsoft of this world and so on. If you're a fresh graduate, getting into those companies can also be very difficult, but you actually probably have a better chance getting in as a fresh graduate than you are as an experienced career seeker, because the what's the word, the screening process in those companies is so horrendous in terms of what it takes to actually get your foot in the door. It's very, very it's very difficult. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I talked to a lot of these companies. The numbers are ridiculous in terms of the percentage of people actually get hired and so on. So if you're in a career change situation, or if you're a fresh graduate, or if you're just kind of looking for a job and you're like, I'm going to apply for these big names, etc., just rethink that. Maybe look at SMEs. That's all I'm going to say about that. And the last part on that is that when these big companies are great, but it doesn't offer stability. And some small, medium, some size companies can actually offer more stability and long-term kind of engagement and career paths than a large company. So hopefully, if you're listening to this and you're like super stuck on like big companies, maybe just shift your thinking and ask yourself, why do you want that big company? What is it about the big company that attracts you? Can you have that same lifestyle, same career somewhere else? So that's the thing about that. All right, another thing, career paths versus career portfolios. So career paths, just to define the two, career paths is somebody who, you start off your career, you stay within that career. I don't know, let's say you're an engineer or a software developer, and you kind of stay within that software development space or marketing space, and you have that one linear kind of career path. You're climbing up the traditional ladder and so on. You might get a couple of certs here and there, but really your specialty and your career path is within the same kind of role, the same kind of industry, and you have the same kind of skills that you had over time, and you're just getting better, faster, more efficient, with more quality in that particular area of work. Career portfolio is something different. And what I see is the shift to career portfolios more and more in today's work in general, for a couple of reasons, which I'll describe in a minute. But career portfolio is, maybe you are a software developer, but maybe also you are, I don't know, an AI expert. Maybe you are, on top of that, you're a game designer. Maybe you're something else. So look at kind of what is it that you bring to the table. I'll give you an example for me, because it's the easiest I can tell you. So I'm a talent development professional. So I do talent development programs and everything that's entitled like around that. So leadership development, coaching, mentoring, so on. But I'm also a podcaster. I'm also an author. I'm also a content creator. I'm also a speaker. I'm also a, what else am I? YouTuber, I guess you could say. I'm also a personal trainer. So I'm also all these different things that add to my career portfolio, right? I'm also really interested in personal branding and marketing. And I've learned the hard way. I'm an entrepreneur. I've started a couple of companies. I have a nonprofit now and another company and so on. So I'm a lot of different things in one. And I didn't do this, by the way, intentionally. It took me time to figure out what is it I actually want to do with my life. So I've started a whole bunch of different things. I've tried a whole bunch of different things, and magically they've come together to form a nice career portfolio that actually all connects in a very nice way. And so career paths versus career portfolio, wherever part you're in your career, whether job search and you're feeling stuck, or again, you're looking for a career change, just explore and see, is this an opportunity to actually shift, to expand into career portfolio? So if you've had, like, I was talking to a young lady at an event a couple of weeks ago, and she comes from a marketing background, and she was like digital marketing, very marketing background. And she was like, listen, I'm not sure what's next. And I said, well, have you considered something around like sales roles or something around account management roles? Because it's all very related, right? Like the skills you have in marketing can actually very much translate to sales skills and account management skills. Because in marketing, at the end of the day, you're just trying to get the right client, you target the right audience. It's about communication. It's the same thing you do in sales. It's just a little bit of a different twist, right? So she can actually expand her career portfolio by having that marketing, digital media, and all those experience, but then expand the portfolio into sales, into account management, into some kind of customer success professional, and so on. So that's what I mean by career paths and career portfolios. Even if you're like, I used to think like, even if you're super specialized, like a doctor, for example, doctors today also need to have different skill set. Like they can be very specialized, but they also need to know how to incorporate technology and AI and what new tools are coming into the healthcare industry, right? And all these things. So there's a lot of other ways that they have to be agile in their careers. So I think it's starting to affect even specialized careers that traditionally have not needed to have that career portfolio. So as you're kind of listening to this, think of, do you have a career path, or are you actually building out a career portfolio? And be mindful that it does not necessarily has to be a professional experience. Your career portfolio can be, again, I'm a talent development professional, but I'm also a content creator and a podcaster. But guess what? These two things actually make me better at my job, because these two things give me the outlet to be creative. These two things give me an outlet to learn, to talk to a lot of people, to learn from others, and so on. And it also helps me be a better speaker, hopefully. I'm getting better each day, each presentation. But so all of these things add to what you're doing. So kind of expand your mind to creating a career portfolio, and you probably already have it, you just haven't thought about it. And that could be potentially the thing that's going to get you out of that career stagnation, because you might be just thinking very narrow, and you need to expand your mind and spend some time to think about, like, what can I do as part of my career portfolio? And the reason this is so important, and what I see in organizations today, and even when I do recruitment for my own company, what I see is that we often look for individuals who are able to kind of manage different things. And so this is especially true if you're going into like small, medium-sized companies, because in the smaller companies, you will have a chance to do different things, to wear different hats. And in order for you to maintain that job, in order for you to hold on to that job, you have to be useful. And to be useful, you have to have many skills, so that management, colleagues, whoever can see the different skills you bring to the table, and your willingness to change, and your willingness to actually add value to the team. That's the main thing that companies look for. They want to either increase revenue, decrease cost, or avoid risks, right? So these are the three things that companies look for. And you have to think, what value are you adding to the company? And sometimes you don't have to be super specialized person. You can just be somebody who is able to do many different things. So they don't have to hire somebody else to do, I don't know, a marketing piece, for example, because you can actually do it. You might be a software developer, but you're really good at marketing. Maybe you can offer that there, or something else. So it actually almost creates job, in a way, I'm going to say this very carefully, but some level of job security, because when things change, when AI is doing its thing, when companies are restructuring, reorganizing, merging, and so on, you're going to be recognized as somebody who can easily adapt to new roles, right? And that is very important, because I think a lot of people hit that stagnation piece in their careers, or they feel stuck, is because they have not spent enough time exploring what else can they do, what else are they good at, what else are people willing to pay them for, and so on. And there's no magic formulas to this in creating a career portfolio. It truly goes down to you actually trying things, you actually experimenting. I don't know any magic formulas. I'm not a magic formula kind of person, but I have some realistic things that you can do, which is just literally try things that you think you could be good at and experiment with it. And for me with podcasting, if you go back, I've now recorded probably over 200 episodes total. You go back to my first podcast, it's embarrassing. Like, it's so ridiculous. Like, I look ridiculous. And my poor friend who was my first guest, I feel so bad for him every time I watch it, as a reminder that you can learn, you do learn, and you do get better with whatever skills you think you're not good at. And I didn't know what I was doing. I was just, I just wanted to do it. That's it. So, and anyway, that's enough about that. I can spend hours on career portfolios, but hopefully you got some insights on that. Feel free to drop in the chat. Feel free to drop questions, thoughts, comments, like, so that I can make it as relevant to you as possible, because this is for you. The other thing, which is just the reality of things, and I think it's important to notice, and how the world maybe it hasn't changed, maybe it's always been like this, maybe I'm just now starting to realize it, but it's not always you. And what I mean by that is that sometimes you can be the best candidate for a particular role. So even an internal promotion, right? So whether you're job searching and trying to, maybe you've gone through a few interviews, or maybe you're looking for an internal promotion, and you don't get that job, you don't get that promotion, and you're like, well, what happened? And the first thing we think of is like, oh, it's me. Like, I'm not qualified. I'm not good enough. And all this chatter goes in. And reality, it's not you. Sometimes it's politics. Sometimes it's policies and organizations. Sometimes it's so many factors that have nothing to do with you as a candidate, with you as an internal potential for a particular role. It has nothing to do with you. It's just really internal politics of the organization. So it's just the reality. You can't do anything about it. Is it fair? No, neither is life. So it's just one of those things. It's just, but the thing I want you to take away from this is that however stuck you feel right now, and if you're like you were so close to something you didn't get through, remember, it does not reflect on your skills or your abilities or you as a professional. Sometimes it's just something completely out of you, out of this life, that you wouldn't even think about. And again, this is coming from somebody who is in a position where I hear certain things, who is in a recruitment role. So trust me when I tell you, a lot of times if you've put your best foot forward, you truly put your best foot forward, and you didn't get that promotion, didn't get that job, it's not you. So it's just what it is, right? So a lot of things that we cannot control. So the last thing here is, if you're not continuously learning, you're already behind. So I don't care how successful you are today. I don't care how much money you're making. I don't care what your title is. If you're not continuously learning, you are already behind, period. So what I mean by continuous learning is staying curious of what's happening in your field. I do this poll, I do this question on a lot of the sessions that I do, and I ask people, when was the last time you, kept up with what's happening in your particular industry, in your particular job role, and how how AI is going to affect it, or how, I don't know, the economy is going to be affected in your particular industry, or number of factors. Just staying on top of like, how is your job role in your industry going to be impacted? And if you don't know the answer to that, that's your first learning, is like, actually start researching, start with Google, as basic as that. Start with Google, look at what's out there, start listening to podcasts that talk about your industry, about your type of work that you do. Because if you're not learning and staying in tune with what's happening, you're going to end up out of a job, you're going to end up irrelevant in many cases, right? Or you're going to again feel stuck because you did not invest time to explore what else do you need to be learning today. What else do you need to be knowing about? Who do you need to be contacting today? Who do you need to be networking with today to ensure that six months from now, a year from now, 2 years from now, you're at least on, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, you're staying in tune essentially with what's happening in the job market for your particular industry, your particular role, if you're looking to grow in that space. Because you might realize, you're like, wait a minute, like what happened to a lot of marketing people, a lot of digital media people, a lot of even journalists, so many people that got impacted by technology, by AI, by tools. I mean, I'll give you an example from my case. I use a lot of tools for my podcasting. And at one point I was like, maybe I should like hire somebody and they do this for me. I literally spend an hour, 2 hours maybe on a weekend editing and doing my podcasting stuff. I do it all on my own. I don't use anybody. I'm not the best person for it probably, but I do. It's good enough for me and where I am in my podcasting journey. And I just use a tool that does it. It literally replaces a whole human being for me. That I just do it. It does everything for me. I'm not going to go into details. If you're interested in it, let me know. But ultimately, that you need to just be a continuous learner. And I was in an event and somebody asked me like, how much is too much? And that's a great question. Like how much do you learn? Like where's the cutoff? Because there's so much push for personal, professional development, and my answer to this gentleman was like, as long as you're enjoying learning. So don't overdo it. Don't get to a point where you're, just like I was telling her, I was like, some days I feel my brain is full. Like I really feel my brain is full. Like I just imported too much information. I need a minute, which is not possible. I don't think your brain's ever full, but you know what I mean. So, so the point being is just be a continuous learner. That's all I'm going to say about that for the time being. Any questions or anything that you guys have here before we move on to the actual actions? Okay, so we kind of looked at the whole new world. It's not you a lot of times. Stop applying just online. Don't just apply online. All right. I am going to give you like a quick little formula of things to think about as you're trying to get out of this stuck feeling, stagnation in your career. So again, for those that just joined, whether you're job searching or looking for a career change, I'm trying to kind of address both sides because my gut feeling is that probably both people are in the room here today or in the virtual room. So anyway, so that's that. So let's just move on to some actions. And please, again, feel free to drop questions because otherwise I'm just literally talking to a screen and seeing who's online, and that's it. So it's no fun for anybody. I can't talk though for a long time. All right, so getting unstuck in your career. So this is kind of the things that I've been, I think about these topics a lot. I work with a lot of people that are in different situations in their careers. I've done this for years, and kind of these are the things that I've kind of collected, and I said I think that's where it's at, like in terms of getting unstuck. Right. So again, whether job search, whether starting your work journey in general, post-graduation, or some kind of career change. Number one is awareness. biggest thing when I work with people, biggest thing I hear from them is they're not really sure what's next for them. And it's, by the way, it's most people. Most people don't know what's next for them, which is why having conversations, having mentors, coaches, friends you can talk to about these topics is super useful. Now you can actually probably brainstorm with ChatGPT. So I don't know, it's scary the way we can do this, but you can actually brainstorm with ChatGPT. You could actually plug into ChatGPT, and say like, listen, I come from X industry. This is my role. This is what I've been doing for many years. Now I'm looking for a career change. What are some potential areas where I can work in the future? Or how can I position myself for this new role, etc. So ChatGPT is really good for that. It's really just about the prompts that you give it. So awareness is really the what, like what is it that you're trying to do? And then part of there's also the why, like what's the end game there? And I'm not talking about that career. Like I'm not a huge fan of like 5-10 year plans. Like I never ask candidates that on calls because I think it's just ridiculous. Like I think that if you know where you're going to go in the next year, 2 years, and you have some kind of vision for your life, good enough, because a lot of people don't. But I think just think about what is the lifestyle that you want to have. And what I mean by lifestyle is, what is it? What do you think this job is going to give? This next step, what do you want it to give you? So, for a lot of people, it's like, listen, I want to make X amount of dollars because I have a big family, or I have a certain lifestyle and standards that I want to, uphold, and so on. So it's all about money for me, and that's okay. Like there's no wrong choices here. It's your life, it's your choice, right? So there's that. Some people could be, for me, a lifestyle could be, just being able to work wherever I am. So not being physically trapped in one location, maybe being in a fully remote role. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe to be in a hybrid role. For some people, it's important. Some people want to be in the office all the time. So I want to have a lifestyle, for example, that's hybrid maybe. Maybe I want to have a lifestyle where I'm not tied into a desk. So I could never be a software developer. Kill me now if I have to sit in front of a desk for 9 hours a day. I could never do it. I'd go crazy. I'd be no use to anybody. I need a job where I interact with people. I need a job where I can switch tasks and do multiple things. A long time ago, personally, I've accepted that I cannot do one thing forever. It just doesn't work for me, right? Going back to the career portfolio, which is by accident I've created, that's because I got bored very quickly with different things. So I had to keep innovating things in my career to keep myself exciting about and liking what I do. So the what is very important. And if you don't know the answer, that's okay. But start thinking about, and so I think thinking about a lifestyle you want to have is a good start, right? So you want to have a lifestyle. Maybe you have families. Maybe you're starting a family. Maybe you want to be working during certain hours. Maybe you want to do some kind of split work arrangement, maybe whatever it is. Think about the lifestyle that you want to have, right? And so on. So anyway, so that's one. The second one is probably one of the most important, which is the mindset. And I know we know this, but this is just a reminder. I don't know if you guys saw, I don't know if you're watching the Olympics, but I absolutely loved what Noah Lyles, I don't know if you guys are familiar, if you're watching the Olympics, but there was a 100-meter sprint, so in the track and field competition, and Noah Lyles, he's a young guy who won gold for the US in the 100-meter run, and he said something, I don't remember the exact quote, I wish I could pull it up, maybe I can pull it up now real quick, but he basically said, he was like, he's like, I have depression, I have anxiety, I have ADD, I have I don't know if it's asthma, he said, I don't remember. So he has like a bunch of different things that he's dealing with. If anybody has the quote, feel free to plug it into the notes here. But he was like, I have all these things. Don't let that stop you. And I think that is such a powerful message for him to share with the audience, because he has all these things that could potentially limit him, right? But he doesn't let it stop, because he's like, it doesn't matter what you have, what situation you're in right now. It has nothing to do with what you can become. And I think that is so important, because again, I work with a lot of people, and I've observed a lot of people in my world that often blame external factors for why they're not where they want to be. And guess what? If you're in a position where you just that's what you're going to be saying to yourself, where you are whether it's the external factors such as it's the economy, it's the job market. Yeah, the job market sucks. It's awful. I totally get it. It does not help you in your job search or your career change, period. It's a useless thought to have. It's a thought you need to have just for reference. Like, it's there. I know it's not a great market. We know it. It does not add any value to you though. So, when you're thinking about career change, or again, to the young lady that I was talking to in an event a couple of weeks ago, and she almost felt, when I was talking to her, I always felt like she was defeated, because she felt like, she was like, I've only done marketing, I've only done digital, media and all that stuff. And it's like, and she was already defeated before she even explored what else can be over there, like in this other side, which is like sales, account management, da, da, da. So there's a lot of other things. I promise you, haven't had many jobs very early in my career, and having worked with hundreds, if not thousands of individuals today, I can promise you, whatever you're doing today, however stuck you feel, somebody has gone through it, somebody's going through it right now along with you, and many people has come out of it, if not most. So many people has come out on the other side of that stagnation. Many people have changed their careers where they felt like that's all they have is that one area. So again, mindset. And sometimes that mindset, the I can mindset is so in the back, or actually the louder one is I cannot. So the I cannot, I am not, etc. So that kind of what's the fixed mindset mentality, right? That sometimes is so deeply embedded in you that you don't even necessarily hear it. Your brain hears it, your body hears it, but you don't even hear it. So it requires really being mindful of your thoughts, requires really being mindful of whenever you send that application, whenever you get a rejection from a job, whenever you don't do well at an interview, whenever you don't know where to start, pay attention to what you telling yourself, because those are the conversations that impact your actions and how you present yourself. Another client I've worked with in the past, she was kind of really beat up by the, I don't know what else how to say, but she was pretty much beat up by the job search. She spent months looking. And she was telling me, she was like, she's like, I was on a interview, and she was like, I just don't think I did well. And when she was talking to me, I can see she was defeated, and her body language was like as if she was defeated. And I asked her, I said, how was your body language in that interview? And she was like, honestly, not great. And so because she was defeated and she let it, take a hold of her, she probably presented her as not a strong candidate. And again, I can tell you that skills and all those things are important, and experience, but a big part of interviewing is your confidence, how you present yourself, your body language, all those things. And so if you feel like beat up by the job search, or you feel like you're like, listen, I'm just kind of stuck, I don't know where to start, take a day, just take a moment, take a break, walk away. Job search, career change does not need to be a full-time job. Nothing is going to change if you take 24 to 48 hours off and just go do something else. Go for whatever you enjoy. Disconnect from that feeling. Move away from whatever it is that you're doing. Take a break. Step away from it and then come back refreshed. Go talk to yourself, fix your mindset, have some fun, etc., and then get back into it, because it's very hard. Like job search is very hard. It's very disheartening. It kills our confidence, and everybody goes through it. I don't know anybody who like applies to jobs and like, hey, like it's been amazing. It's been an amazing experience. I'm getting all these interviews. It's not like that. It's never like, if anybody tells you it's a lie, okay, they're just lying. So they're faking it till they make it, which is also a strategy for some maybe. Anyway, so that's that. Somebody said go scuba diving. Absolutely. Whatever floats your boat. So anyway, that's that. The other thing is the method. So I'm a huge fan of taking action and metrics. I always say it's great to dream, but dreams don't come true until you actually have some solid goals around your dreams. And some goals are even just wishes until they actually become actionable steps that you can take to that next level. So metrics are very important here. What I mean by metrics is, I'm going to ask you guys a question and think to yourself, if you are in a process of job search or career search or building out your network, whatever it is, are you keeping track of, number one, where you're applying to and who you're sending your resume to? Is it just online and that's the only step you took? But keep track of it. The second part is, if you're speaking, if you're having interviews, are you keeping track of who you've had interviews with? Are you keeping track of the recruiters? Like, I used to actually keep an Excel sheet. Like, that's what I use for networking. It's really old school. I'm sure there's tons of tools out there. So, don't follow my advice. I'm very old school when it comes to networking. But I used to, I still kind of do keep an Excel sheet of people that I meet in my network. And I kind of, qualifying them in different areas. So like an acquaintance, somebody I can potentially partner with, somebody I can collaborate with, potential future client, maybe media person that I can then pitch myself to, maybe somebody I can pitch myself to conference. So there's different kind of categories. So keep track of who you're talking to and what jobs you're applying. And why I say that is because when I talk to people and I'll be like, well, how long have you been in a job search? They'll be like, oh my gosh, like 4 months, like 6 months and so on. and I will say, oh, great. Like, do you know, like, when was the, like, who are the last, what are the last 5 companies you applied for, or who have you spoken to? Like, oh, like, I don't remember. Okay, so you don't remember. So you're not even sure where you're applying. So if somebody were to call you right then and there, and that happens, by the way, too, when you call candidates and they have no idea who you are or what job they applied for, because they're just mass applying without actually tracking who they're applying to, right? So keep track of that. The importance of keeping track of these particular metrics is that there's an art of follow-up. Job search, if you're only applying for, again, job search, career change, I assume you're probably applying, maybe you're reaching out to people, maybe you're trying to reach people on LinkedIn and so on. If you're only reaching out one time, it's not enough. There's a 3-step reach out process. For example, let's do LinkedIn or even email. You apply to a job. If you're only applying online, obviously we've already discussed this in the past, so make sure that you are not just applying, you're actually applying for a job. And then the next step should be to find a person you can actually ping on LinkedIn, connect with on LinkedIn, maybe find their email address. So here you can use LinkedIn, you can look up the company name, and then you can look at the HR or department head that you applied to, whatever it is. Like, find somebody, a human being, to actually talk to, and then you add them and say, hey, like, recently came across your company, I've applied for the role, I would love to learn more about it. Any kind of steps. The important thing to keep in mind here is that not everybody's going to respond. There's like a 1/3 response rate on LinkedIn. Is just what it is. What will increase your chances of response rate is making sure that you're saying the right things to the right audience. So if you're emailing HR or recruiter, you can be pretty straightforward because that's their job, right? So that's their job to screen candidates, and they might actually appreciate you reaching out and putting your foot forward for a specific role. If you're reaching out to a hiring manager, that conversation needs to be tailored slightly different. So the reach out could be, hey, Elena, I see that you're hiring. I wanted to see if that role has been filled already, or would you be open to connecting me with the right person to speak with about this? So trying to just get information, something from them. So, because there's usually a process inside companies. So if you reach out just to the hiring manager, they might just refer you to the HR or the recruiter anyway, depending on the company and so on. But ask them questions they can answer. So basically, don't just send your resume. They're very unlikely to take a look, because that's why they have HR and recruiters do that for them, especially if it's a big company, big position that they're in. They're likely not even going through that. And not because they're bad people, it's just not everybody has time to sit there and look through actual resumes. So the easier, the shorter, the simpler the request, the higher probability of them actually responding. So that's that. The other metric is how many jobs you're actually applying to, how many people you're actually talking to. That is probably the most important one. If and people say, well, I don't know what to talk about. Find something, find alumni to connect with, find common interest, connect with people you've met at this event, for example, connect with anybody that can be helpful for you in your job search. So don't just talk to people that can get you the job. Talk to people that can provide you information. Maybe they're in a similar role at a different company. Maybe you're a career change seeker and you want to get into this new field. Let's take the example of the marketing person who wants to go to sales. You see another person on LinkedIn that potentially has made the shift or have a title that you're looking for, and say, hey, listen, like, I know it's a long shot, but I'm actually doing a career change. I saw that you kind of did the same. Would you mind to have 10 minutes? I would love to hear your experience about it, what worked well for you, and so on. Be human. I think we forget that in LinkedIn conversations. That's how my LinkedIn conversations are. I'm like, hey, listen, like, I know we don't know each other. This might be a long shot, but like, can we talk about this? And like, just keep it simple, super casual, super simple, and tailor to that individualized approach. So like, study their LinkedIn, see what you can find as a common thread, or something you can ask where it shows genuine interest. That will go a long way for you. So that's in terms of metrics. What other things I want to say about method and action and metrics? Oh yeah. So the final thing here is, when I ask people, like, how long have you been searching, they'll be like, oh, X number of months. And I said, okay, wonderful. How many resumes have you sorry, I got distracted, but how many resumes have you actually, how many interviews have you had? Right? And they'll be like, oh, none. Okay, so you've been just doing the same thing over and over again, but there's no result. If you're not getting some kind of traction after 1 to 2 months of applying and reaching out to people, and nobody's getting back to you and nobody's responding to your application, you're just getting a bunch of automated no's, which mean nothing, by the way. We'll talk about that in a minute. So if you're getting a lot of those and there's nothing, like, there's no feedback coming your way, please know that you're doing something wrong, and you need to go back to the drawing board and say, what is it? Is it my messaging? Is it my application? Is it my resume? Is it the way I approach people? So start thinking about what can you do differently? What haven't you tried? Who haven't you asked? That is the biggest thing I see. And this tends to happen more with men than women. But I would say probably more men than women. We're afraid to ask for help. We're afraid to say, you know what, I'm looking for a job. I'm looking for a career change. You know what, my job sucks right now, or I got laid off. I need help. I'm looking for a job, right? So don't be afraid to reach out to people. And just think, like, what's the worst that will happen? They'll say no, they don't respond. Who cares? Move on, right? But people forget. People are too busy to remember about the fact that you asked for something. I promise you, nobody cares. And I mean this in the best way possible. Like, nobody cares, as everybody's so busy worrying about themselves. Even if you ask for something, they're likely to just forget about it within a day or two anyway. So don't be afraid to ask for help. That's what LinkedIn is for. One of my biggest things that drive me crazy on LinkedIn is that people do not respond in terms of, like, if you're actually trying to connect. LinkedIn, if you're listening and you don't respond to it, LinkedIn is for networking. And sure, if you don't want to network, I mean, don't even put your profile, don't put your stuff. But it's not an effective way for us to operate as society if we're not genuinely reciprocating to each other. And what I mean by that is, right now you're in a job search, right? And you might be looking for jobs and you're reaching out to people. When you get that job, or when you make that career to switch, successful career change, and somebody reaches out to you, make sure to pay it forward. Make sure that when you're in a comfortable, nice position in the future, make sure that you actually reach back out to people, even if it's a no, thank you, or I cannot help you. But make sure you don't do the same thing that other people are probably doing to you right now, which is not responding at all. That is what LinkedIn is for. Sure, for some people, they're like, oh, I just want to kind of stay up to date on news and blah, blah, fine. But it's astonishing to me how little we're willing to help each other. So, and I think the best thing you can do, and I always say this works in every situation in life, be of service to other people. Be of service to others so that it will come back around to you. Whatever God, universe, karma, whatever you believe in, there's something to it. There's something to being of service to other people, because people will come back. It will come back to you. But if we're not a service to other, and then we need help, and we have job search, and we're reaching out, and we're just take, but we don't give, we don't reciprocate to other people, that is just creating an environment that's not sustainable for anybody. And so I just want you to think about that. As people are reaching out to you, even if you feel you cannot do something, I'm sure just even responding to somebody in a job search or career change is helpful. And just remember, once you're in that position, a comfortable position, remember to pay it forward. So that's all I have to say about that. Anyway, and again, like, if you're doing something over and over again and it's not yielding results, go back to the drawing board. What can I do? Who can help me? Who can I ask? Do not be afraid to ask for help. Not everybody will respond. To each his own. God bless. Just be mindful that you need to do your part in this process. Okay. And then the last piece here, and that's the last thing I'm gonna share here, and then I'll answer the questions that are popping up. So the last thing is health. I cannot stress this enough. There's been numerous studies. I actually want to pull that up real quick. So I'll just give you a couple of it. So there's been a ton of reports, health reports, they come out all the time, every year. So this particular one is 79% of adult workers reported work-related stress. So basically, most of us are stressed out of work. 36% reported cognitive weariness. What that means is that your brain is basically not functioning well, you're not thinking clearly, you're not as creative, and so on. You're not being productive. 32% reported emotional exhaustion. So you just get drained. 32% of people in the workplace today are just drained. And 44% reported physical fatigue, right? And that's a 40% increase since 2019. So just to give you an insight. So it's so before 2019, we used to do much better. I don't know what happened after 2019, but we have just spiked in terms of our exhaustion, burnout, mental health, physical health, just all those things. Although we have access to more information, more resources, more affordable options for our health, we're just getting worse. And so being in a training environment, being somebody who's very much mindful of her health, who's gone through my own burnout twice, who's had up and down in terms of my health and so on, I can tell you that you're not at your best. You cannot can you find a job being in a very unhealthy situation? Sure. would it be the best choice for you? Maybe, maybe not, because you're literally not thinking clearly. You might not be as strategic about your career planning. You might not, you're probably thinking of like, what I need this today. You're not thinking future wise. So focus on your health. If you don't know where to start, like I read something the other day, and they're like, if you just don't know where to go in life, what to do, what you want out of life, focus on improving yourself, which is your health. So audit your habits. How well are you sleeping? There's tons of research that has come out about the impact of sleep. When you sleep, a lot of good things happen. When you don't sleep, a lot of bad things will happen to your brain. All right, and how your brain registers information, how your blood flows, how your cells produce and reproduce. All of these things happen when you sleep. All right, so sleep is very essential. How much you sleep, it depends. The point is, you need to wake up and feel rejuvenated of some capacity. I mean, the older you get, I mean, I wake up, sometimes I'm just sore for no reason. It's just what it is. I think part of it's just getting older. But the point is that you should feel, you should feel that steady energy throughout the day. It's very difficult to have fulfilling careers. So somebody's talking about the steps you can find to fulfilling work at your current company and organization. How do you start the process? Honestly, it might sound counterproductive, if that's the word I'm looking for, but start with your health. How do you feel? Start with your health. How are you sleeping? What's your food intake? How are you eating? How much coffee are you drinking? If you're drinking alcohol, how much alcohol you're drinking, right? Like all these things impact how we think, how we feel, our emotional levels, all those things. So it's such simple changes that everybody here can do. You don't need a grand plan. You don't even need any money. Just audit your habits: eating, moving, sleeping, and the last part actually is who you're around. So if you're around a bunch of negative Nancys and everybody's just miserable in their own career stage and, stuck in their careers, and it's just the same thing. And it's just like a recycled conversation about how awful the job market is and how bad it is. Nothing's going to happen right here. What's going to happen is over here, people who are like, yeah, it sucks, but I can't control. Let me focus on what I can control, which is the things that we discussed up to this point. And finally, your health. It is the most important thing you will have in your life. It is the biggest and the most important investment you will make is into your health. So we're not meant to, and if you're sitting down, like I'm sitting down right now, but I have a standing desk, I'm always up and down. I take walks throughout the day. You can even make small changes like walk after every meal, get your body moving. Every hour we sit, I think it takes off X number of minutes out of our life at the end of the day, et cetera, et cetera. So this is just general health things that we need to think about, and just look at your habits. Another thing that's related to career here is that we tend to go all in on some kind of change, career change, job search, and it's not sustainable. So in order for you to play the long game of career change, job search, which it can take 3 to 6 months, right? As we discussed earlier, sometimes for some people it can take up to a year. You need to literally think about it like sports. Your stamina needs to maintain for this whole time. So like you have to have enough stamina to keep going through this process without losing your mind and declining in your health. And I've been there. I'm telling you because I've been there. I've been to where a few years ago, I was in a situation where I was like, my finances were going down. A lot of personal things were happening, and I just felt like I just went like this. I felt like I just went inside. I didn't want to do anything. I was just like, I was miserable. I stayed in that place for a few days, and then I was like, well, I have to do something. So like I made myself get out of it, but my health suffered so much over that stress period that I had. So just again, I don't know what else to say about this. I know I'm like beating it at this point, but it's just so important. Your health is everything. You cannot be at your best if you're not at your best. So at your top performance, it impacts the way you think. It impacts your emotional triggers, all those things. So just be, again, mindful of your habits, audit them, replace them where necessary, and stay away from people that all they do is find something wrong in this world, because the world is too good. There's too many good things happening in the world. And you need to pay attention more to that. It will help you focus on what you can control versus what you cannot control. All right. So that's that. I have another question. So transitioning from one career to another, single mother with a disabled son, not easy, but I'll never give up. I've been trying to write my book. Perfect. Yes. And that's the mindset, right? Like it's everybody. And if you think that some people have it better than you, most people, if they, it's the famous expression, like if you knew other people's problems or other people's challenges, you'd want all of your stuff back. You're like, no, I'm good. Let me stay with my stuff, because my stuff tends to be, relatively speaking. So I think just being mindful of, there's a piece of acceptance. Okay, this is where I am. This is where I am. Now, what's the game plan for my situation? That's why I say there's no magic formulas. There's no one strategy that works for everybody. I think through these 4 steps, it's like, what can I take from this? It's a bunch of tools that you take to create a toolbox that you can then take and implement in your careers and your lives that is tailored towards you. That is tailored towards you and what you want and your situations and your obstacles that you currently have and so on, right? And it's by experimenting as well, right? And Nawaz said, like, even trying to write a book, like, why not? Why not? When I started my podcast, when I used to do a lot of different things, and people are like, well, what are you going to do with that? Like, I don't know. I just like it. Mind your business, right? Like, so you don't have to explain anything to anybody. It doesn't have to even make sense to you at that time. If you want to do something, just do it. I promise you, like, everything that I've done in my life to this point in my career has created this career portfolio that we talked about earlier. I didn't even mean for it to happen. I just kept trying different things because what I was doing at that time, I wasn't satisfied. It wasn't enough. I wasn't making enough money. I needed to make more money. I'm not the smartest person in the room. I'm not a person who's like super like smart in a particular area. Like, I'm horrible at exams. I can't pass a certification to save my life. Like, it took me 2 times at least to take, like, every cert that I have today. It took me at least 2-3 times, even though I know the topic really well, but my brain just doesn't work like that. So I've struggled with just, what's the word? Like academia and like the typical intelligence that people like rate you on. I've struggled that my whole life. But what I've gotten really good at is by experimenting so much and self-teaching myself and learning and just being a continuous learner, to where I was like, oh, I think I'm caught up now. Like, I'm caught up to the rest of the population. And in some cases, I probably exceed a lot of the population. And that's because, again, I just try different things. And again, like in the new world of work and like wherever this AI thing is taking us, I think the more agile, the more faster you can be as a learner, the more you're able to manage change, the more you're able to process different things happening in the world, which a lot of it relates to your health. Because if you're not healthy, it's very difficult to deal with the rest of it. If you do not have your health, nothing else matters. Nothing else matters. And I think we can all agree to that. You can be, in the best position with the best title and all that. If you don't have your health, nothing matters. So it's very difficult to do anything if you're not healthy. So, lost my track of thought. But the point is that start, just again, like, do things, just start. Actions are so important. And action will always beat inaction. Sometimes it's going to be strategic. Kudos to you if you're sitting there, you're like, I got a strategy, I got this, like, I can do this. But then on the other side, many people don't. So just start somewhere. Start with something that you've been always wanting to try, always wanting to do. It doesn't have to make sense right now. It doesn't have to monetize right now. Sometimes it's just a hobby and so on. Just start somewhere. And the final piece I'll mention here is keep in mind that it doesn't have to be like I was talking about stamina, like you have to keep up. The reason people tend to get burnt out and defeated by job search or career change is because they go so hard for a long period of time and then nothing happens. And then like after a month or two, they're like, oh my God, like I hate my life. I hate job search. This sucks. I don't want to do this anymore. So look at how you can do it in micro mini steps each day. What can you do today, right now, after this session? What can you do today to help you with your job search, right? So what can you do today to help you take that next step? Just one step. Keep it super, super tiny. Maybe it's just sitting there after this conversation and thinking about, what is the lifestyle you want to have, and write that down. Don't just think, write it down. All right. Maybe it's mindset. Maybe it's environment. Maybe it's auditing your habits, right? Writing things down, committing to it, having a reminder. That's another thing. Accountability. Who can help keep you accountable, right? That's why environment is so important, right? It's like, who can keep you accountable? Who is there? Who's also maybe going through a career change or job search? Maybe there's a mentor. Maybe there's a coach you can talk to, right? Depending on which situation you're in. But who can keep you accountable? And if there's nobody, you just put a sticky note, you put a reminder on your phone, and you take full accountability for your own career and your own growth, right? I say this. I don't know what's like, I almost guarantee that if you just focus on these 4 things that we talked about, and if you just reflect and keep it real with yourself, and if you're of service to others, I guarantee something's going to come your way. You're going to get out of the stagnation and so on. The likely reason that you're in stagnation is because you keep doing the same thing over and over again. And you keep thinking about what you want to do. And maybe you have all the plans to do something, but the plans are just plans and there's no action. And that's because maybe the action you've set for yourself is so big that it's too hard. And say, I'm going to start next week, I'm going to start next month. You know what? August is here. September 1st sounds like a good day to start. And so you keep postponing. And then it's like September, like, well, holidays are kind of around the corner. And then, you know what? 2025 is when I'm going to start. And what happens? You just wasted 6 months of time. So every day, every step, every mini thing that you do is a step towards it. You don't see it, but it's like compound interest, right? It's compound interest. That's how investments are done. That's how you grow your stocks, right? It's just compounded over time. It all adds up to something. And I'm sure you're already thinking to yourself some experience that you've had that have added up to something. So please, keep all that in mind. I wanted to share a couple of books in case you want to kind of keep this learning. So What Color is Your Parachute is an excellent book. It's a old timer. They keep doing new editions. It's still one of the best books. It's on my bookshelf right there as well. It's still one of the best career books. It's very practical. So What Color is Your Parachute? It's all about job search, career change. Really, really good. The other one is Who Do We Become? I'm a huge fan of John Sene. I hope I'm pronouncing his name right, but he talks a lot about the future, and I think he offers a different perspective on just future of organizations, future of work, future of us as humans, and so on. So he has a series of books, and it's all about, like, this one is Who Do We Become? I also have I think he has 4 books out now. I don't think I have his last one, but I definitely have the first 3. So Who Do We Become? And it allows you to start thinking more about becoming somebody you need to become versus just doing something or doing the same thing. So I just love his book. I'll leave it at that. I'm going to talk about that for hours. So just that's a really good one. He has a lot of content online. You can follow him as well on social media. He's really, really good. The other one is my book that I've written with my business partner. So The Rough Guide to Awesome Leadership. This is for somebody who maybe you're stagnant, maybe you're stuck in a leadership role. You're not sure how to move to the next level. That book is super helpful in that. If you're interested, if you connect me on LinkedIn, I can send you a free PDF of it. If you want to do the PDF, if you want the hard version, you can also order that online. And Switchers is by Dawn Graham. So I've had her on my podcast years ago, and she's excellent. She also has a website, ton of stuff. She writes for Forbes. She wrote a really great book called The Switchers. She's one of the top career people for me, at least. And that book, I always recommend it to people. I think it's just a phenomenal book. So anyway, so these are books you can take a screenshot. This is also going to be recorded. So this whole presentation is going to be uploaded on LinkedIn. So don't worry if you missed it. And finally, if you want to get in touch with me, of course, feel free to connect. I'm happy to always share resources. You can go and shift that space. Our website, you can check out links and stuff there. I post so much stuff on LinkedIn. Like if you just look on my LinkedIn, if you look on YouTube, my podcast, I bring the best people to give you the best of advice. So like all the answers are there. If you need reminders, everything is there. So, be a continuous learner. I'll stick around for a couple more minutes in case anybody has any questions. Otherwise, feel free to connect. Thank you for joining. I know it's hard to sit through some of these sessions sometimes, but I try to give you as much information as I possibly could from my mind and my experience. So let me know if you have any questions. And of course, feel free to reach out if you don't want to ask questions here. All right. Well, listen, have a great afternoon, evening, wherever you're joining from. Thank you again, and catch you at the next one.